You're listening to Being Built. I'm Aaron Davis, the host and the founder of Reliant Search Group. We hire people that are hard to find. I'm here with Brad Jordan. Thanks for being on the show. Brad is a global talent acquisition director and a speaker and an author. I read your book, actually.
Wow, nice.
Well
We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me on, Aaron. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah.
So I remember the first thing I recalled out of the book is that you started it with self-awareness,
Yes.
which I thought was interesting. I was just chatting with my son, my little guy, my 9-year-old, about being aware of your own emotional state, essentially, emotional regulation kind of stuff.
Sure.
And it's cool at 40. How old am I? 47, 48. I'm one of the two.
We're close in age then. I'm 48 or 49.
I've learned this stuff through my 30s and 40s, but I get to teach my 9-year-old how to see himself.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, I'm angry. Oh, I'm sad. Oh, I'm happy. Or I think in the case that provoked the conversation, he was excited and he was kind of loud and obnoxious. And I said, you got to know your surroundings.
That's right. That's right.
Self-awareness is a big deal.
It's a huge deal, right?
You started the book with that.
Yeah, I think I had to. That's the foundation. So when I'm speaking or if I'm even talking about consulting and leadership and teams, it's always self-awareness, right? And it's the emotion, right? But it's also what drives you. What makes you tick, right? So, we're getting to know each other. There's something that makes Aaron tick. There's something that makes your son tick, right? I have 3 children. There's something that drives them. And we have to understand, they have to be aware of what drives them, what their gifts are, what their strengths are. And quite frankly, and it took me a long time to figure this piece out. What are your triggers? I think all too often we have blinders on our triggers, and that will hold us back from the success that's right there within our reach.
Yeah.
I had a doctor's appointment today, and I was speaking to my doctor about my youngest child.
Okay.
And what I said was, he is really good at his sport.
Okay.
Above average. I think he could be great, but he has a blind spot.
Okay.
And he's not aware of it because it's a blind spot, right? And so my job as a parent is to help him uncover that, which is challenging when you have kids, right? They don't want to hear from their parents, but yeah, self-awareness, absolutely the key. I watch it in the workforce. I look at teams that I've managed. Those that understand their strengths and weaknesses, they rise to the top.
I'm a big fan of the Strengths Finder.
Oh,
is it the
Clifton Strengths or Strengths Finders? Yeah. Absolutely.
My cousin-in-law, Stephanie Raimondo, she actually did that for an assessment for me and my team, and it was really useful.
Absolutely.
And my wife did it too, and that was actually useful for us to reflect on our respective strengths. So yeah, I'm a big fan of assessments too.
It's funny because we didn't talk about it, but I do that with all my teams. We go through Strengths Finders, we go through Clifton Strengths, and we figure out
what are yours. Do you recall your big ones?
Individualization. That's a tough one to say. Individualization.
Yep.
I make sure that everybody is treated as an individual with their own strengths and weaknesses.
Thus your affinity for assessments. Right?
Assessments, right? I love assessments, right? That's one of the many I use, but I love them for that. Harmonization.
Okay.
I believe we need to all be able to collaborate, work together.
It's easier to put puzzle pieces together when you see the shape of them, right? So those two things seem to go together.
So they do go together. And maximization, right? I am very much, how do we become as efficient as possible, productive as possible, profitable as possible? How do we make the greatest impact? I tell my team every day, because we're in the same field, right? We're trying to find talent. Every day we get to change lives in a positive way.
Yeah, man.
Every single day we get to change lives. How can we be the best at changing lives?
Yeah.
And that's that maximization piece that comes in. So I'm a huge fan of assessments. My children have taken it.
Oh, really?
And my children are all teens and young adults. Interesting enough, my daughter is a leadership trainer for her sorority.
Okay.
She just graduated last year. She travels around the U.S. for them as a leadership coach.
That's cool.
Delivering Strengths Finders.
Yeah.
And going through that.
She's a certified trainer or something?
Well, she's getting certified.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's cool.
So I guess I've talked about it enough where she sees the value of it as well.
It is cool. I think one thing that comes to mind when I think about self-awareness, well, you tell me what you think of this.
Yeah.
Because I was curious when I was, I'll pretend like I was reading, but I was really, really listening to your book. Is the push and the pull, or the conflict between being very self-aware and being a little self-obsessed, or being like too self-conscious. Like,
Yeah.
because I feel like there's a little bit of a, sometimes you can assess and reflect and look at yourself so much that you fail to see other folks. You can take that too far, right?
Yeah.
So what's your
Yeah.
thought on that?
I agree. I believe you can almost have too much introspection, if there's such a thing as too much. I believe that. Interesting enough, I was doing a keynote in Detroit, maybe 2 or 3 years ago,
Okay.
and someone asked us that similar
Really?
question afterwards.
Okay.
She came up and she had a condition. I can't recall what it was right
Okay.
now, but she said that she really beats herself up, and she has to be very careful of that. So is there a chance for that? Yes. But here's what I believe that we can do to overcome that. And it's later in the book, we talk about wise counsel. I'm a huge supporter of mentors. And I'm not talking about unofficial mentors, someone who knows they are your mentor, someone that's there to guide you, direct you, show you your blind spot. So if you are somebody that might become down on yourself, or it leads down a bad path, you need a mentor or someone in your life. My spouse is great at this. She's not my mentor, but she's my spouse that can tell me, hey, be careful. I'll give you a story right now.
Okay.
There's a lot on my mind that I want to get done in 2026. New year, new you, right? That's what we say. And I was pretty stressed out the other night. And yesterday she sent me a screenshot of all my Amazon orders. And there's like 8 books on there. And she's like, maybe this is why you're stressed out. Maybe these 8 books and what you have going on at work. And
do you change direction every time you read a book? Do you get like enthused and move?
You know what? Here's the challenge. I get books that are similar. So I'm always moving, but it's the same direction.
Okay.
Like all 8 books are primarily focused on leadership.
Okay.
And all 8 books are similar in thought. It's really about the people behind it.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
I was projecting my dysfunction. This is what I do. Like, oh, this is what we're yours. All about this. Everybody on the team, read this. We're doing exactly this now.
I have my own dysfunction.
Until 3 weeks from now or whatever.
No, I try to.
That's a symptom of the founder syndrome, by the way.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. But no, I try to keep it consistent. You know, I read a book, one of my favorite books of all time. I don't get any funding for this, but The Traveler's Gift.
Okay, I've never heard
of that. It's Andy Andrews is the author.
Okay,
one of my favorite books. I read it every year.
Really?
And it basically is about he gives life lessons in stories.
Okay.
So the story is about a man who is starting his life, and he has some struggles, some financial struggles. His daughter gets sick, doesn't have insurance, and it's almost like It's a Wonderful Life. He believes it would be better if he was no longer around.
Okay.
And he's given the opportunity to go through life and meet historic figures that gives him one word. So he's a traveler. They give him a gift. Every person gives him a gift. King Solomon gives him a gift.
Okay.
Right. And then it shows what his life could be.
Interesting.
And then, of course, he didn't take his life, and then he follows through with all the gifts, and it's a great story at the end. But I share that because I do think when it comes to mentorship, when it comes to self-awareness, when it comes to development, it's action is the difference, right? I can read books all day. If I take no action.
Yeah, you spoke about that in your book too.
I do talk about decisive action, right? If I don't take action, what am I doing? Knowledge for knowledge's sake helps no one.
Viktor Frankl is an author. I read a small book he wrote, small but huge book that he wrote, Man's Search for Meaning. He was a Holocaust survivor, and one of my favorite quotes is something he said, the truest form of being is having been. And essentially by that, he means what you actually did is what you are. Because what you think about or want or wish is all potentiality, and it's it's not anything until it's done. And what you thought about and wondered about and, whatever, never actually came to be. It's only what you actually did.
Correct.
So that's kind of a validating perspective of exactly what you said. The action is what matters, not what you pile up in here, except to the extent that it provokes action. Right?
Sure.
I really liked that call out in your writing. I think going back to Strengths finder. I'm the
Yeah.
activator. And so I'm
Okay,
like, okay, so what? So what? So what? Let's go.
Right,
What are we going
right,
to do about it?
right.
That's a constant
But
question in my head.
But we think about things, and I tell this story at almost every speech if I'm talking about my book at all,
Okay.
and I always share that. Have you heard the term boondoggle?
Yeah. I heard
Okay,
it.
okay.
I think 6 times in your book.
Wait, that's right. You read the book. So, but yeah, before the book, maybe people don't know what boondoggle is, but it's all this activity,
Mhm.
but there's no productivity.
Mhm.
So what I talk about is if I sit here with you, right, and we get done and I want to go back home, and I'm about an hour and 20 minutes from here, right?
Mhm.
And you have a treadmill and I start walking on that treadmill. Am I moving? Absolutely.
Right.
Will I maybe work up a sweat? Sure.
Mhm.
Lose some pounds? Maybe.
Right.
But I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
It's just activity.
Mhm.
I've got to actually get out there, walk to my car and go.
Mhm.
In our lives, in our work, how often do we push papers and
Mhm.
we're active, but we're not productive? We both have families.
Mhm.
What if we just look busy all the time? That's not helping our children.
Yeah.
It's not helping our spouse. We're not growing. We're not making a difference in our community. It's got to take action. Action is the key.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that brings to mind another book. It was a Stephen Covey book. He essentially talks about 4 principles of whatever, some operational success or something. I forget exactly what the book is, but one of the things he talks about is leading indicators, and essentially and that concept is not unique to his writing, but knowing the activity that leads to results.
Sure.
And being really, really clear on exactly what that is. And it's tough sometimes though. So like if you take recruiting, for instance, a language we both know,
Yeah.
the number of calls or number of emails you send out does not always translate to the number of candidates that respond or to the number of good candidates that you can interview, right?
Sure.
If the message is wrong. So it's like all activity has to be qualified. All activity has to be not just quantified, right? It all has to be qualified. And so I struggle with that, Brad. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, what'd you do today? I did X, Y, and Z.
Sure.
So do you just measure outcomes? That can be a little bit exhausting and disheartening at times, especially if you're in a long cycle thing. Like I flipped houses for a while. And if you're only ever talking about what you accomplished every 3 months when a property sells,
Right.
or if you're only ever I do a lot of higher level, like executive level hiring. And so we're not making hires every day.
That's right.
So you might be weeks before you see your next offer accepted or whatever. And so if you take on a search 6-8 weeks later or whatever, you're making that. If you can only ever satisfy yourself at the end of the game, you can't ever tell yourself you had a good day. Oh, this was success. This was productive. You have to be able to measure activity.
Yeah.
At some point, right? It's a strain. There's a strain back and forth between outcomes and activity and knowing the ones that lead to the outcomes.
You're right.
So I love challenging ideas.
Yeah. My dysfunction is I might focus too much on inputs as opposed to outputs.
Yeah.
Because I know, like in our space, right?
Mhm.
If I ask someone, they have to fill a requisition.
Mm-hmm.
We can look at the outputs and say, okay, they contacted 300 people.
Mm-hmm.
We can contact 300 people.
Sure.
That's easy.
Yeah.
But really, what was the activity around it? Were they qualified?
Yeah.
Did they meet the information that you received during the intake meeting? Like, because I don't ever judge by the output because I think you can drive bad habits.
Sure.
With teams, if all you're focused on is outputs, you can drive bad habits.
Yeah.
I believe in my heart, people want to do the best when they wake up in the morning.
That's true.
I do. I believe people want to be the best and do the best. So if I am judging them on output, they're going to hit the 200 or 300 or whatever the number we say, right? Mm-hmm. But does that mean we're doing the right thing?
Right.
If you have the correct inputs, the outputs will naturally arise. But another way to put it, I guess, is if the processes are correct, you have the outcome you're looking for.
I had a new hire this last year, and he was new. He had done some similar work, but he was new to our industry, to executive search, to third-party recruiting. And so at one point he asked me, hey, so, what's a good day? Like, how do I know I've had a productive day? And I was like, dang, man, you really want me to break it down into a day?
Yes.
I'm like, you've climbed a rung closer to the top of the ladder where we can get to that, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so, but he was forcing me, and it was a great question. And it's funny to create like a, I can't help it, I guess, because I'm a future thinker, strategy, whatever. These are, you get into my strengths now. I always want to start, well, what we're trying to accomplish is 2 years from now, we want this employer to bump into us in a grocery store and to say, man, you recommended Brad to us and he was such a great hire. Thank you so much. You really changed our business. I got a neighbor actually who's a friend now and customer, and we see her all the time. She came to our holiday party, her and her husband. And we hired a guy. Hey, Brody was a great hire, blah, blah, blah. And like, this is 2 years later or however long it is. And so I paint that picture for my guy on my team. I'm like, that's what we're trying to accomplish. So what we do today,
that's right,
impacts, that's our goal. 2 years from now, you bump into that customer and they thank you for that brilliant hire who changed their business. That's the goal. So backtrack, right? How do we know that they're going to perform 6, 12 months? Okay. We really have to understand. And he's like, okay, great, Aaron, but
but what is good?
But what about great? Like for the next 4 hours, what should I be doing?
Am I just painting a vision the next 4 hours?
Yeah.
But that's the challenge.
It's a grind, right? Like breaking all that down into like, how do I have a productive day?
It is.
You need to be a very super curious and caring student of your customer's business.
You do. And let me go back to where we started.
Yeah.
Because I have blinders like everyone else, but because I'm self-aware, I understand that I will miss the trees for the forest. And I didn't say that backwards. I said it correct. A lot of people say you miss the forest for the trees. I miss the trees. I can see the vision. I can see the big picture.
Yeah, you just described my problem. That's exactly it.
Well, when you said it, it hit me because I'm like, that's me. So what I have to ensure when I'm building teams is somebody on my team has that as a gift. One of my leaders has to be able to see the trees. and I learned that not soon enough in life. And I had failures because of that. But once I figured out you miss the trees, someone on your team has to be good at trees. You complement each other and everyone's successful. So when you said that, it resonated with me.
Yeah.
So how do we complement each other so we're all better and more productive and can make a difference?
That's a great call out, man. You're a good harmonizer.
Imagine. I think I saw that on assessment somewhere.
I had 2 ladies that worked on a team that I used to run talent acquisition for CareSource.
Yeah.
And I had a dozen or so people on the team, and these 2 ladies who were kind of team lead kind of caliber people. I remember both of them would just let me ramble on about my vision. They would come, yeah, anyway, Aaron, so how should I respond to that email again?
Right.
15 minutes later,
great.
I painted some 3 to 5 year picture of this big impact we're going to have. And they're just like, did you hear the question?
Right.
What are you saying?
I want to bring us back.
But you know what? Having those 2 and others on the team,
yes,
that had that very pragmatic, tactical thought process was, I mean, they saved my butt, really.
Sure.
Because they were like, you need to boil that down into a right now decision.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And it's
You're making me have a realization about my own practice.
That's what I'm here for, right? I'm here for you, not vice versa.
Thank you.
But no, I think that's real. And when we talk about success and failures, earlier in life, I think that's why I failed. I didn't want to talk about my weaknesses. I didn't want to say that I needed anyone else. And then probably, I think you said in your 30s and 40s, same. In my 30s, I realized we all have our own gifts and talents, and let's complement each other. If we do that. And so that's how I build my team. Sometimes people question me like, why do you want that person? Because we're missing that piece. I read a book. I'm an avid reader. I just told you I had 8 books that I purchased the other day. And I wish I could remember the name of it right now. But basically, it's an assessment. And they look at an acronym WIDGET.
Okay.
WIDGET. And their belief is that of those 6, everybody is born with 2 that are gifts.
Okay.
Talents, and not just gifts and talents, but they drive you.
Yeah. Okay.
They bring you to life. You could do it all day. You'll never get tired.
Okay.
There's 2 that are working competencies. We've just learned them over our life. And there's 2 that are energy vampires.
Yeah. Like get me away from that.
Get me away. If I have to do that, I'm leaving the company, or I'm going to be stressed, not mentally correct. And I did that assessment with my team, and I realized like, I know, self-aware, taken assessment, done the work. It didn't surprise me that I fell into the D is discernment.
Okay.
So that's 1, and G. Those are my strengths. G is galvanization.
Okay. What's that?
Rally the troops, right?
Okay.
Get them going. My communication style is cheerleader.
Yeah, you got to hype about you.
Right? You know, I'm ready to go, right? I can tell you that story too. I did cheer once. But anyway, I did. I was on a cheerleading team. Yeah, it doesn't seem right. I played football, and then once I stopped, I cheered for a year. But
interesting.
I digress. And so I realized quickly that we had some discernment, we had some galvanizing people. We had people in the wrong positions. We had people that I expected to continue to galvanize, and that was an energy vampire for them. It was a drain for them. So quickly I realized with projects, that's not who we want taking the lead. But and this was recent, this was within the last 10 years. I just hadn't heard it laid out like widget. And I had to move people around, not positions, but where they fit in projects.
Yeah.
Right.
Just how you interacted with them and how they interacted on work.
Absolutely. The WI are more the dreamers.
Okay.
Right. And I can paint a vision, but I'm not just going to come up with anything out of the blue. So we need dreamers. We need people in the middle of discernment, right? You create it, bring it to me. My gut's pretty good. And then I can rally the troops. And then your E and your T are more the people I like to close, to finish it, the tenacious ones. I'll tell you, I wrote that book, okay? Hear me out. I wrote this book. It's at my editor.
Yeah.
I'm starting on another one. I haven't published that one. I don't have a cover, a title. I have nothing.
But to you, it's done.
But to me, it's done. I'm ready for the next exciting thing.
That's me. That sounds familiar.
That's my wife would tell you. I would drive her crazy with that. To me, it's done. I'm ready for the next excitement. So again, being self-aware, I know at work when I take on projects, I have to have people on my team that like to close it out.
Yeah. They're detail-oriented executors.
Absolutely. They're going to cross the T's and dot the I's. We need those people.
Yeah.
But guess what? They need me because all they want to do is close it out. They don't want to rally the troops. They want to be behind the scenes getting the work done. So that's why I lean into self-awareness so much. I have a speech coming up here beginning of February, actually.
Okay.
Not too far, just down the street.
Okay.
And I'm talking to a nonprofit, and we're talking about change. I'm going to talk about self-awareness when it comes to change management. I'm going to talk about action when it comes to change management. Not everybody is into change. I had a mentor once, 25 years ago.
Okay.
He was a supervisor of mine. Amazing man. 25 years later, we're neighbors. I think I told you that we built a home 5 years ago.
You're neighbors with everybody in your town.
Well, true. We're all just in one compound. But no, a true neighbor right next to me. But he said two things to me. One was not new. The only thing constant in life is change. That was not new. But what he said to me, he sat me down and said, those that can adapt to change will be the ones left standing and the ones that are successful. And 2 decades later, it sticks with me. So I'm someone that bring it on.
Yeah.
Change is great, but I know not everyone is that way. So when I go give this speech, we're going to break that down a little bit as far as who are you on a scale from 1 to 5 as far as being willing to accept change. I'm not asking you to be willing to accept it, but understand where that fear is coming from. We can break that fear down. We can get beyond that and you can start accepting change. So, yeah. So,
you know, what just that brought to mind when you're talking about change is what I run into this a lot. One of the most common, like legal pitfalls that employers, particularly in high tech and innovative engineering space, I work a lot in that space. I've run into this a lot where well-intending, they're not intending to be discriminatory, but they'll say, I need a young up-and-comer, right? And I have to remind people of that all the time.
Yes.
Like age discrimination it's a legally protected class.
Yep.
And it's not just, that's not a mistake just because it's illegal. It's a mistake because it's also immoral, but also
right.
It's not accurate. What you're getting, what you really want. And what I find it's usually driven by compensation expectations is one, and that's pragmatic. And we can just say that we need a junior level or a new person to the field or whatever, because you'll have career change people in their 40s that are perfectly happy to take a more junior to mid-level role because they're in some new space. So but the other one, which is probably more often the case, somebody's looking for that fresh mind, or that, kind of a young, eager, enthusiastic. What they're really saying they want is somebody who's very open to doing things very different.
Correct.
They're eager about just breaking things, rebuilding it. They're eager about questioning everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's natural for my 9-year-old. And that's natural for a 20-something-year-old in the workforce. And it becomes more of a discipline or a personal strength or affinity for somebody who's learned great competency in a particular field. If they continue then, after kind of mastering a competency, if they continue to be a break it, rebuild it, challenge it, and change it kind of mentality, it's because that's a strength. And so I have to always remind employers, like, look, you're saying young, but I think what you mean is you want an innovator.
Correct.
You want somebody who's a change agent. You want somebody who will challenge things. You want somebody who's creative. You want somebody who's studious and they know what's new, right?
That's correct.
And sometimes those guys show up with gray hair. And
they do.
And it may be less of them. It may be 20% of them instead of 80% of them. But we better not miss them, because they show up with that innovation, that change aptitude, with knowledge and experience too.
Absolutely.
So that's something I have to and it's funny in our space how often people are saying one thing, and I think it's well-intended and innocent most of the time, but they mean another. And that's one of the ones that's one of the most often recurring little pitfalls that I see technology engineering leaders saying, I want this young talent. What you mean is you want somebody who's not addicted to the way it is.
Yep.
Right.
And good for you for challenging, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to save them from trouble, and let's not miss the best talent.
Absolutely. Right? And it's fascinating. So I was having lunch yesterday. Again, it's almost like we've talked, and we didn't talk about this at all, but I was having lunch.
The internet's a great thing. You can learn a lot about people.
Hey, now if you learned this about me, it just happened yesterday. So
okay.
Maybe it's my phone that's talking. But we're having lunch and with coworkers. And the one coworker says that data was incorrect.
Okay.
I said, what do you mean it was incorrect? Much like you said young, maybe that's not what you meant. I said, what do you mean incorrect? Well, that's not accurate. The number is such and such.
Okay.
And I said, well, why is it not accurate? Well, because the number is such and such. What number are you talking about? And right away, the person sitting next to me puts his head down, because he's known me long enough. He's like, oh, here he goes. And he's like, well, we're talking about the number of open requisitions.
Okay.
And I said, okay, how do you define open requisitions?
Do you define it the same way the system does?
Right. And he goes, well, like the number of openings. So like we're playing this game. I go, are we talking full-time or part-time? He goes, yeah. And I said, are we talking co-ops? Are they in there? Are we talking open? Are we talking pending? And like you could just see. And I was like, I go, you have to be careful when you say that, because it may not be accurate to how you define. Yeah. And what I've learned in life is oftentimes the friction that we have at work, even our personal lives, we're defining something in a totally different way.
That's true.
Young was not really what they wanted.
No, but they meant something by it.
They meant something.
Yeah. And your colleague meant something by it.
Meant something.
They were trying to qualify, something more specific.
But imagine him saying that to the person that created the data.
Right.
That's right. Right now,
why did we run it that way? Why would we build that database?
So I believe conflict comes sometimes just from misunderstanding, miscommunication, and how we are defining a word or a thought. Yeah. So good for you for calling out young too.
Well, what's fun in that space is you're tiptoeing right into another space that's really. I get into a lot of like data architecture, and that's a recurring customer need. And one thing that's been fun to learn is the practice of kind of defining a data library where everybody agrees and this happened at one conversation I had with some folks at UD. Actually, I watched a little seminar what some of their guys did. Like, what's a student? And it's something different to the guys who run the residence, and it's something different to the alumni people, and it's something different to, are they registered or have they showed up for class? And like, so there's all these 10 different ways that you could be a quote unquote student in their 6 or 16 or however many different systems. Yep. And so the idea of universally having everybody agree on now we're talking about, we have an applicant and we have a resident and we have an alumni and we have a student, and that need to create consistency. And sometimes, a resident student or whatever, you have to expand your vocabulary, right?
And don't get started in our space. What's an applicant? What's a candidate? And then if you're not in our space, what's an applicant?
That's right. And for me, every new employer I talk with, I'm I have to figure out what their definition, you know what I mean?
Correct.
Their data library is.
You know, it's funny you say that. And I'm not trying to go back into the book, but it's a passion of mine. Something I speak on is empathy.
Yeah.
It's understanding the thoughts and feelings of others, right? And so that's where I go back to, if I understand what you mean by candidate or applicant, we're going to be able to move further along.
Sure.
Right. And we're talking in our space now, but think about even our relationships, right? What is unconditional love, right? And my wife can't hear me, I don't think, but like what she has taught me is unconditional love. You know, I was listening to one of your guests,
Okay,
and they made the comment that they come from humble beginnings, and I can appreciate that. I came from humble beginnings, and one of my, if I want to call it a trauma response, is that people are always going to leave. I just wait for people to leave. For 25
You're
years,
stage 4 clinger. Is that what you're?
oh gosh, no. Here's the problem. I wish I was a clinger because I expect people to leave. I don't get
you're
close.
defended against it.
I'm defended against it. My walls are thick.
Interesting. Okay.
And I've tried to knock those down, and she has definitely helped me over time. But because I know people are going to leave, I don't bring them close.
Yeah.
And she has truly taught me unconditional love. And I think that's helped me in my professional life as well, because I can be more empathetic towards others because I get that myself, and I can feel it. And she tried to teach me it a long time, but as stubborn as I am, it really took a health crisis in 10 years ago now, 2016. I was in the middle of a big work project. I was building a team out. I was away on a business trip, and I just wasn't feeling well. Okay. I was in Chicago and in a hotel, and I just sick to my stomach, and I wasn't sure what was going on. I came home, and we went up to Michigan for an overnight trip. And the day we got back, I went to sleep about midnight, and about 1 a.m, I felt what I would consider a tearing sensation in my chest. And I was asleep, but what I heard was like Velcro coming undone.
Oh, wow.
And I felt a rush in my chest, and it immediately woke me up. And for almost 9 months, I dealt with a medical condition that no one could explain.
Wow.
I ended up losing 40 pounds in the first 30 days. I spent half of that month in the hospital. Every test you can imagine for heart, lungs, brain, they did on me and couldn't find a thing.
Did you recover?
Yes.
Okay.
Was anything ever diagnosed? No.
Never figured it out.
Never figured it out. But what I will share with you is that 9 months changed me.
Yeah.
So when I talk about empathy, what I say is it doesn't hit home until it hits our home, oftentimes.
Yeah.
I can say that I understand people and I'm empathetic with their health condition, but sitting in that hospital thinking I'm never going to see my family again, that changed everything for me. And did it ever fix? It fixed me. I became a more caring person. I remember the assessment. I can't remember the name of the assessment, but it was like ENFJ, right? Or I can't remember the assessment, but it was extroverted and intuitive and
Myers-Briggs.
Yeah, Myers-Briggs. Thank you. Feelings and judgment. My empathy level was much lower than I anticipated. After 2016, it's much higher.
Interesting.
And so when I'm speaking or just having a conversation with you, I always say, let's get there before it hits our house. We can have thoughts and feelings and beliefs, but let's be more empathetic. It shouldn't have to hit our house for us to care about our human, the person that's next to us, our neighbor, our family, our brother, our sister.
It is unfortunate, I think, how often people only care when it hits home.
Yeah.
You know, I've run into this all the time. It's like, well, you know, now that, you know, Jacob is going through this or whatever, I feel like it's important. Well, it was important when your neighbor was going through it.
That's right.
Or your cousin or your coworker or whatever. It was important then too. You just failed to care. You failed to recognize what they were going through.
I get on my soapbox. I think if I could pinpoint, I can't solve world issues, right? I would love to, right? But I'm one person. But I do believe if we were more empathetic, that would solve most of our
Yeah.
issues as a society.
I mean, it's the foundation for the greatest moral philosophies and all of our thinking about what's right and what's
It
wrong.
is.
And we'll all battle about the specific things that we think are right and wrong, but the basis for all of those feelings or judgments or opinions about right and wrong are all our ability to empathize with our
Correct.
closest person, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't normally do this. Can I read something to you?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
This just came to me today.
Okay.
So I have a gentleman. We talk about leadership and empathy. This gentleman and I, our daughters went to school together.
Okay.
Good guy, basketball coach.
This is like the philosopher's version of here, let me show you a picture of my kids.
This is
That's amazing. That's exactly what it is.
2 years ago, he started sending me a daily leadership quote.
Okay.
I didn't ask for it. He just started sending it to me.
Yeah. You're on the list now.
I'm on the list, right? But it's just me. He sent it to me. So I got him a nice Christmas gift. I'm like, this man did this for 365 days.
Wow.
He sent me a leadership quote every day.
That's cool.
And I expected it to stop. It didn't.
Okay.
But he sent this to me today. And I don't know if I'll go ahead and read it. But it said, today you won't control the external events that happen. Is that scary? A little. But it's balanced when we see that we control our opinion about those events. You decide whether they're good or bad, whether they're fair or unfair. You don't control the situation, but you control what you think about it.
That's great.
And when you just said that, it just hit me like I just read that this morning.
That same author I pointed to earlier, Viktor Frankl, says something just like that. Another one of my favorite quotes is, he essentially refers to his experience in a concentration camp, and I forget which one. And the quote goes something like, the last of man's abilities or whatever, or the last thing you can hold on to that nobody can take away is your ability or your ability to control how you respond to a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like they can kill your wife, they can burn your book, they can, take your life from you. But one thing that nobody can take from you is your ability to decide how you respond to a certain situation.
That's right.
And I thought that was that kind of goes back to your chapter on ownership, right?
It is. I was just going to say the personal
I beat you to it, dude.
I'm like, and I think that's where it all came from. When we're thinking about the book, where it came from truly was pre-2020. I was going out on the circuit and I was doing some speaking gigs, and I was speaking for the company that I work for.
Okay.
And obviously I'm getting paid for the company, so I'm not intermixing everything. And one of the schools was like, well, how much are you going to charge me? I was like, I'm not going to charge you anything. This is my day job.
Sure.
And I was like, this is just part of what we do, what I can do. The week before, she goes, are you going to invoice me? And I said, I'm not charging you, right? I'm here to help your students. I'm here to give them some skills that will help them in life.
Sure. Okay.
Right? Be more employable. That's what I was doing. I was doing soft skills.
That's cool.
Employable skills, right?
Okay.
For me, it's what sets our department apart.
Mm-hmm.
We could be a Me Too recruiting department, but oftentimes schools do not want to give people time to come in because every minute counts from an education perspective.
Sure.
So I won't come in and talk about the company. I'm going to come in and offer soft skills, employable skills. At that point.
So it's got a double benefit, right?
Double benefit, right?
Yeah.
And oftentimes they say, well, can you come back and talk about your company? You know what I mean? So it works. But I go and I present, and she said, I don't know how you're not charging me for this.
Yeah.
And then
is that what inspired you to?
That's what inspired me.
Speaking?
Absolutely. She goes, how are you not charging for this? And I said, well, this is just what I do, right?
Yeah.
Because I want to make a difference. That's just who I am as a person.
Yeah.
Right. You wouldn't have to pay me. I'll take a check, but you wouldn't have to pay me. And so what inspired me is she said, we have students. I wanted to hear from you more. Well, I just can't travel to that school unless you
figure out how to start charging for it. Right?
Unless they figure out how to start charging. So I figured out how to start charging. But I thought, she said it, another person said it, another person said it. When you leave, you're not leaving anything behind. And I said to the one lady that I've grown close to over the last 15 years, so what about a book? She said, that you could leave behind. And that's what inspired me. It was truly the connections that I've built over the last 10 or 15, 20 years who saw something in me and said, we want more. leave something behind.
That's great.
I never thought I would do that, write a book,
Yeah.
right? As soon as I published it, scariest day of my life is when it went out.
Because it's out there.
Because
And
it's
now
out
everybody
there.
can see
Now
what's in
everybody
your
can see it. They can see the flaws. They can see what's in my head.
Yeah.
And so like I already have other editions, right? That because it
People are like, hey, did you see this problem?
right, and I was like, yeah, I saw that
That's
problem.
how I
As
felt
soon
when
as
I
I
started the podcast too. I'm like, I'm going to start rambling in front of everybody every week. I'm out there sharing opinions and ideas.
Can I tell you, my first editor fired me?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
My first editor. They said, you write like you speak, and that's not how you're supposed to do it. And I said, I appreciate that, but I want to write like I speak because that's who I am. And it's
That's
fair.
the whole point.
They were 100% correct.
Okay.
And if you read the book through, the book is almost a rambling. It's like I speak.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
but that's the authentic me.
Sure.
And so my daughter, excellent writer. She could have done a much better job, but it would not have been
It
my
wouldn't have been
voice.
yours. Yeah.
And so the second editor said, that first editor was correct.
Mm-hmm.
I can clean it up, but if you want your voice, we will keep your voice.
Okay.
And so my second editors who I kept because I wanted to keep my voice.
That's good.
And now I want some future editions.
Well, let me ask you about the future.
Yes.
That's a good segue as we kind of come down to our last 15 minutes or so. When you think about, there's really three questions. So I'll start with the first. When you think about, and I don't know if you're much of a futurist or whatever, strategic thinker, or if you bother yourself much with thinking about what's next in your life,
Too
but
much.
I'm going to make you.
Too much.
So when you think about the next couple of years, Brad, like,
Yeah.
what's the biggest change that you see happening for you personally and professionally? And what's the biggest thing you want to accomplish? Like, what are you trying to get done, whether it's at work or your consulting practice or your
Right.
speaking practice? You trying to write another book? You trying to,
Yeah.
what is it that you're seeing for your next couple of years?
That's a great question. I do think about the future quite
Mhm.
a bit. I do. Too much, maybe. The easy answer, and then I'll get into more details. How can I impact the greatest number of lives?
Okay.
That's just who I am.
So how
Period. So the question is, how do I impact the
Okay.
greatest number of lives? Let's start with work. Right?
Okay.
There's definitely more global responsibilities and global impact that I can make over the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
From the space that we work in.
Yeah.
Right. From really strategically looking at the talent acquisition landscape, from creating consistent processes.
Okay.
Obviously, you have different geographic laws to deal with in
Yeah.
our space, but outside of that, there are several practices and policies we can put in place that are consistent.
Mhm.
So that's part of it, right? Building a more robust.
That's a big challenge. That's fun.
It's a huge challenge, and I was sharing on our way down here that there's a huge opportunity, and the other countries want it. They need it.
Sure.
They're asking for it, right?
Mhm.
And we're finally in a place where we can do that.
Okay.
We've developed enough in the U.S. We've developed a team as such that I can finally pull away from the operational piece
Okay.
and focus more on the global strategy. So that's how I can make the greatest impact throughout the day.
Okay.
I want to build more leaders. My goal is never, if I don't have people getting promoted within or promoted outside of my department, shame on me.
Hmm.
I've lived that way for the last 20 years. I want to promote future leaders.
Mhm.
I think that's what we're supposed to do.
Not hoarding them and keeping your engines
No.
safely in their compartments.
But we
right?
battle that, right?
Mhm.
This person is great.
I dealt with that.
I
a
want to
lot.
keep
One
I want to
organization.
keep them here. I don't have to worry about that area because no.
And I used to
I
work
want
for an
leaders.
organization that would, they would just gobble up attrition. And
Mm.
so somebody gets promoted out of your department, it would take them 3 months to get the backfill approved. So nobody
Gotcha.
wanted to promote or lateral move anybody.
Right.
Right. And so that was when I was doing a job more similar to yours than my own now, it was a big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is a big problem, right? So you have to work, but not for me.
That's good.
And also, I'm a pot stirrer sometimes, so I'm never going to let us sit there 90 days. We're going to have a succession plan, or we're going to have the rec create it before that person
That's good.
promotes out.
That's good. You'll create the right kind of trouble.
I create the right kind of
That's
trouble. Good trouble. Always create good trouble.
Maybe I needed that bravery back then. Where were you, man?
Well, as I was telling my wife on the way down, I'm going to get myself in trouble. And I just telling her the story. And she said, real trouble? I said, no, good trouble.
Yeah.
But
So, all right, part two of the question.
So from the business side, I am going to expand my global speaking opportunities. So far, I've spoken not every state in the U.S., most states in the U.S.
Really?
But I've not gone global yet.
Okay.
And so my goal is to get some global speaking opportunities, and I've connected with
that
some
English
people.
lands the same way in Canada, man. That's not too tough. That's a modest global move. Okay.
Pond. I want to, we could
Trying to go to
Canada, but I'm going over to Europe.
Everybody speaks English in the world anyway. So,
well, I almost had the opportunity for the UK.
Okay.
And I couldn't pull it off because I had things going on in my day job.
Sure.
When that opportunity presents itself again, which it will, I've networked now with people that speak over there. That's what I want to do. Because again, how do you make the biggest impact?
That's
You've
cool.
got to be able to get out. So from a personal standpoint, I think that's where I'm going. Do I have another book? I do. I started it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be another leadership book.
Okay.
I want to put another edition of the first book out.
Okay.
That might come out before the second book. And then there's two things I want to make sure I talked about today because they're important to me.
Okay.
And if you're asking me on your podcast, I want to make sure those are the ones. I believe we need to believe in something bigger than ourselves. And again, I'm not going to define that for people. And some people might say, well, you're on the fence, you're lukewarm. I'm not going to define what that is for people. But once we figure out that we're part of something bigger, that's how we stay connected. That's how we have more empathy. That's how we can make the biggest difference. So I wanted to share a story that changed my life for that. Okay. It's going to be a spiritual story, but again, whatever people believe.
I invited you, man. If that's your story.
So I wasn't raised in a church or with any spiritual beliefs. In fact, I would probably be called a heathen, right? Humble beginnings, and did what I wanted. I never got in trouble with the law, but just did whatever I wanted. And my wife and I went to the same college, not too far from here, small liberal arts school. In Springfield. And I was already freshman year. I went to play sports, so I was already checked into my dorm, right? And it was called Tower. So obviously it's one of the tallest dorms. And I'm up at, I don't remember, 6th floor, 8th floor, and here comes check-in day for the normal students. And I look down and I see this young lady, and very attractive lady, and I'm like, I'm gonna get to know her, right? I'm thinking that, right? It's freshman year.
You're a visionary.
I'm a visionary. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get to know her.
Yeah.
The school only had about 1,500 students. I never saw her again until my senior year.
Oh, wow.
4 years later. We were kept apart because we would not have worked. She is a very spiritual person. She comes from a very religious family, and we were completely opposites, and it would have never worked. Senior year in the fall, she was a cheerleader for 4 years. Senior year, I cheered.
And that's when you met?
She broke her foot before that. Never cheered that time.
What?
So we were away from each other again,
That's
right?
funny.
She was a 4-year cheerleader, and she hurt her foot, and so she did not cheer. It was our spring of our senior year. So last semester.
That's it. At the end, right? The end.
We started seeing each other, and I thought, that's Lisa, right? And I'm like, I haven't seen her. How did I not see her for 4? I wasn't supposed to see her, right? That was clear because we would not be together. So I'm with my close friend, fraternity brother. We're driving down the main street. We come to a stop sign, and here comes this red car from the other stop sign, and it's her. This has only happened once in my life. It's the only time. I heard, you're going to marry her. And I looked over at my buddy, and I was like, what did you just say? And he goes, what are you talking about? And I go, what did you just say? Like, now I'm like a little bit angry. And he's like, I didn't say anything. He said, what do you think I said? I said, you just told me I'm going to marry her. And he said, you're out of your mind. That's Lisa Cook. You don't have a chance with her. Right? But something at that moment said, that's who you're going to marry.
Mm.
And that was 25 years ago this past fall.
Wow.
And so that
Congrats. You made
changed
a
me.
quarter of a century.
It
Yeah.
had to be able to say, you're part of something bigger. You're connected to something bigger. And so part of my journey is just to help people discover that too, whatever that is, right?
Mhm.
I'm not here to push anybody one direction, but I know we're part of something bigger. And I think that's what will drive us to want to stay connected. So that was important for me. I didn't want to miss out because
you said there was a second thing too.
Second thing, you heard me say mentor,
Yeah.
right? I don't ever say that I'm self-made, right?
I like that.
Did I do things? Did I take action? Absolutely. But I'm not self-made. And I don't believe most people are self-made.
I don't think anybody is.
They might say it.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're self-made.
Anybody who says they're self-made, to me, that's a cautionary statement.
It is.
Why do I want to collaborate with a self-made
person? I'm not going to be able to do
He's
anything.
never going to acknowledge the other people that made them who they are. Yeah.
And so for me, I think it's key for success in our life. A, for mentors. And I mentioned that. And B, to have someone close to you in your personal life that believes in you and sees something more. And for me, that's my grandparents. And I couldn't sit here and talk to you if I didn't bring them up. They're amazing people. My grandmother was born in either 1920 or 1921. It's not that I don't know. She doesn't know.
Oh, really?
Or didn't know.
Okay.
She passed away at either 101 or 102 years old, depending on when she was really born. But born in the South, born in Alabama, went through some very difficult time. Like, in fact, she talked about, the Edmund Pettus Bridge. I think that's the name.
Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah,
I know the one you're talking about. Is that the name?
Yeah, I'm trying to think we're yeah. I want to say it's.
Let's look it up.
Let's look it up because I don't want to say the wrong term, but let me see. Edmund Pettus, I think, is what it is. I'll say it again once I get it right. Is Emerson on there?
That's right. Yeah, Edmund Pettus Bridge. You got it right.
Yeah. So she
talked Alabama.
Yeah. So she talked about walking across the Edmund Pettus Bridge growing up, right, and being in a racially divided school.
Wow.
And I want to talk about her because she grew up in that, and she ended up moving to the North, staying with family. And I don't know anyone other than Lisa, my spouse, who loved people unconditionally. She never had hate in her heart. Somebody that probably could from the stories that she told, right? She never did.
She never let that contempt seed, huh?
Never. She never let that grow. And although I may not have understood it, respected it growing up, once I started to understand it and receive it myself, I saw what she brought to others. Yeah. She served until she was in her 90s. Like, she was an avid Catholic, and she went to church mass every Sunday. She drove herself there until she was 97 or 98.
Okay.
And then she spun out after church one day and decided it was probably time not to drive there. Right. And so I'm like, yeah, 97, 98. Those last few years, that was it. And she was healthy as can be. And I bring her up because I spent several years living with her and my grandfather. And I don't want to forget about him either. Like, he grew up in Virginia. He was born in 1919, I think, and went to the military. And he really taught me about creating experiences for people. He was a cook. My grandmother was a cook. I mean, when I say a cook, like on this, like they weren't chefs. Yeah, they didn't do it for a living, but they loved to cook, right? And he always says, you don't do this to cook, you do it for the experience. So I grew up cooking.
That's wise. Yeah.
It is. So I grew up cooking. Even at the holidays, I'm the one that does the cooking.
Yeah.
And I may not even eat it. I
just
want
the joy of being the host. It does something for you.
To do something. So I've taken that lesson from cooking and applied it throughout my life in business, right? I want to create experiences for my team, but it was from him.
What were their names, Brad?
It was Irene and William Jordan. That's cool. Just amazing. And And I'll tell you one more story about him. I remember the first time he asked me to cut the grass. You're old enough now. Go cut the grass. Because again, I told you, I lived with them. I was almost every summer I was there. I lived with them for my 4 years of college, a couple years of high school. And so this when I was younger. He said, go cut the grass. So I get done cutting the grass and I come in. He's like, what do I owe you? Or what do I owe you? And he got to go, well, what are you going to pay me? What do I owe you? And so we do this dance. And so I give him a number, writes me a check. Wow. He said, is that what you're worth? I said, no. He said, why'd you ask for that? Because I thought that's what it would be.
He was teaching you to build your business,
right? He was teaching me to build a business, and not just build a business, but don't let anyone else tell you about your worth.
Yeah.
He said, I would have paid you double that. Someone walking down the street would have asked for more. And that I was probably 9 or 10. And I still remember that of don't let anyone else tell you your worth.
That's great.
So I'd be remiss if I didn't bring them up during this full podcast.
Well, what a fortunate thing to have such great influences and to see them clearly and to know what they did to you.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you shared that. All right. Last 2 questions. We'll make these quick. You laid out some goals, some vision you have for yourself for the next couple of years. What's going to get in the way? Question 1.
Yeah.
And how are you going to get past it? Question 2.
Oh, that's great. What's going to get in the way? There's always something unexpected, right? Some type of financial issue, some type of economic issue. What's going to get me past is my why. It's always my why, right? I think for all of us, we get past our obstacles, and I don't know what they'll be. I wish I could tell you. But is your why strong enough? I am big on creating vision boards so I can look at it every morning. I have a vision board in my closet. I see it every morning. I see it every night. I look at it. I mean, it's right there.
You make yourself see it.
I make myself
somewhere you visit every day.
It's as big as this photo back here. These photos. It's as big as that. And and I started that because I did it years ago. And when we moved, we built a home. I put it in a box. I was unpacking and I looked at it and I thought, oh my goodness, I accomplished that.
Wow.
I kind of forgot because it was in a box.
Yeah.
And so I created a new one. And I created this 5 years ago. And it's almost time to create another one. I'm about 75% of what's on that board.
Okay.
If your why is strong enough, nothing will stop you. And my why, because I want to make the greatest impact I can on the world, right? I don't want anybody, I don't care if they know my name. I want them to know how I made them feel. My why is my family. I want my kids to know that nothing can stop you. So when I have a health condition, when I get fired from a job, which that's been a long time, but when I get laid off from a job, right? When a family member passes, nothing stops us from moving forward and being the person we were created to be. So that's probably maybe a cheesy answer, but it's how I feel.
You know what? Somebody's got to bring the icing. Right. It ain't much of a cake without it.
That's right. So, that's right. That's
if
right.
you layered it on a little bit, I'm not mad at you about it.
It's real. It's, it sounds so. I went back to school to receive my master's 8 years ago. Yeah, 8 years ago. I wanted the knowledge, but I wanted my children to see nothing can stop you. So when times were tough, and I was actually, it was 11 years ago, because during that time is when I had my health scare.
Yeah.
And I still completed it. And I wanted them to see that. And even though I didn't have to walk, I walked because I wanted them to see that.
Yeah.
You asked me what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my doctorate one day.
Are you?
I don't know if it's going to be within the next 2 to 5 years, but it's going to be sometime within the next 10 years because I love the knowledge and being able to apply that. But I also want my children to see you never stop learning.
Yeah, you're resetting the bottom is what you're doing. Like
100%.
You're essentially establishing a set of expectations for them. And they don't have to do exactly what you do, but they'll see that you're accomplished. Right?
Absolutely. And that if we can change lives, and whose lives better than who's in our house first. Right. I always say that to my spouse, how can you be a light for others if your light isn't shining? Right. So we have to take care of this ourselves and our house, expand to others.
Brad, thank you for making a pit stop here before your dinner date to inspire me.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you being on the show.
No, I appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.